So over the past two and a half years, I've been building out my truck, a 2020 Trail Boss, to be the most capable overland rig possible. Today we're going to go through, talk about all the modifications and exactly why I chose to do them. So as I said in the intro, this is a 2020 Silverado Trail Boss. From the factory of the Trail Boss, you get a 2-inch lift, you get some blackout package stuff, you get off-road tires, and you get, in the rear, you get it's not really a limited slip, but it's not a true locking differential, it's a Detroit locker. So if there's a difference between the tires, it locks in the tires, or locks in the two sides. So it's kind of helpful, but I'd much rather have true lockers that I can engage. Like I said, it came with some off-road tires from the factory, but I've since upgraded. It comes with 31s. Really these are 33s, and I'm planning on 35s in the future. But these are the BF Goodrich KO2s. I've been pretty happy with them. They're good in the snow, pretty quiet on the road, and I haven't had any issues off-road. Came with the blacked out wheels. I really like that. But it didn't come with blacked out. These were silver from the factory, so I had to change these out. That was pretty simple to do, and I think it looks a whole lot better. So now we'll move around, come to the cab. Also, I put on, these are not true rock sliders. These bolt to the cab. I couldn't really find anything other than custom work that actually went to the frame, but this helps protect it quite a bit more than just nothing there. So in here, if you want to come up this way a bit, in these side pockets, we've got, this is just a cheap headlamp that we keep in here, and a 12-volt inverter. This is just a small one, but it works really well for charging small things like camera batteries and laptops and that kind of stuff. So that lives down here, cup holder, and duct tape. You can never have too much duct tape, I guess. It comes in handy. So there's a lot of stuff just stashed around this truck. This is, in addition to being an overland vehicle, it's my daily driver. So there's a lot of things in here that are meant for kind of daily use, but then also to be prepared for anything like this, to come out and get away from everything for a little bit. Moving to the back here, normally there's a car seat here, but flip this up. Underneath there, I've got, this is where a tripod normally is, and then I've got this Crescent Mechanics toolbox here. I keep this in here. I can fix just about anything I need to, and it fits really well underneath the seat. So this has probably well over 100 tools, I don't know for sure. I picked this up on Amazon, and it is perfect. Behind that, I keep my Ryobi impact wrench with all the different sizes in there, so I can do tires, do anything else on here that I need to. But changing tires is the big reason I have that. Then when we're out, we keep all of our clothes in here. If we're out for a longer trip, we keep food in here, and it just is a way to keep it, the clothes and everything protected if it rains, and then food, we don't have to worry about animals getting up there into it. On the back here, the main thing is the extrusion overland rack. I've had this for probably a year and a half now, and it's been awesome. This is the 6-inch model, and I actually did a dedicated video on this, but the cliff notes of that are that I've been really happy with it. I like the lower profile, helps keep the tent down below the roof of the truck, which is good for gas mileage, but it also helps protect the tent going through trails and stuff. A lot of the trails around here pretty narrow and short, so if you get this underneath the cab, it helps protect it some. I'm also running the Paragon bed cover. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the back. So this is the ARB, I believe it's the Simpson 2 rooftop tent. I picked this up on Facebook Marketplace for like 500 bucks. So if you're looking, definitely check out Facebook Marketplace. You can find some really good deals. It's a soft shell tent. I'd like to go to a hard shell at some point, but this works really well for now. So up in the tent now, we're running Nemo sleeping bags. These are the Forte men's, and my wife has the women's. The men and the women's, they have opposite zippers, so you can actually zip them together and make one big sleeping bag, which is kind of cool. They've also got these vents here. They're closed right now, but these two stripes here, same on hers, you can open those up if you don't need to stay super warm and get a little bit of airflow through there. And they've also got up here, you can put your head inside of this if you're really cold. So I like these. They fit into a pretty small bag for travel, and they are super warm for this kind of stuff. And as you can see in here, there's basically room for 2 adults. With our 2 kids, it gets real tight up here, so that's why I'm saying we're looking for a bigger tent in the future. But for now, this is perfect. Right here, I replaced the stock Trail Boss graphics. These are from J&J Graphic Designs. These are sweet. It's a custom topographic pattern, so definitely check them out. They've got a bunch of stock things you can just order, or if you've got custom stuff, they do. This was like less than a week for me messaging him, figuring out what we wanted and getting it done. So super quick turnaround time, and it's been holding up really well, so I'm super happy with that. Coming around back here, this is where we keep most of our camp gear. So on this slide out that I've got here, this would be loaded down with all of we've got our box, our table, anything else that we're taking with us depending on how long the trip is. We keep that on this side. And then we've got our set power fridge. I believe this is the 60 liter. It's the bigger one, so it's either 55 or 60, which is way too big for weekend trips and stuff like that. But we're a family of 4, so if we're going out for a lot longer time, it's nice to have that capacity. It's also a dual zone, so you can set up one side as a freezer, one side as a fridge, which is exactly what we did on our longer trip up to the Keweenaw. And we were able to have frozen food on one side and then keep everything else on the refrigerator side, beverages and those kinds of things. All right, and now this will give you a little bit of an idea what it looks like when it's all packed up. We'll start up here, I guess, closest to the cab. So we've got our table. This stays in here pretty much all the time. And then on top of that, we've got our privacy tent. We use that for changing, showering, and the bathroom. We actually just got that, but I think that should be pretty nice, especially in areas not so secluded like this. Then right here, we've got our foldable toilet. Again, super nice when you're in a secluded area. You don't have to lean up against a tree or anything like that. So that'll go inside of the tent. We actually have bags for that, even if there's a spot where we can't dig a hole or something like that. Then we've got our camping box. As I talked about in other videos, this has pretty much everything we need, all of our kitchen stuff. We've got cups, plates, accessories for the Blackstone or the griddle. The Coleman stove fits in there, all of that. And then if we were on a longer trip, we'd have a separate box for food. But just being a weekend trip, we didn't need that. And we've got space here. On longer trips, we'll put extra water here. We'll put whatever else here. Right now, it's just holding our garbage bag. And then over here, our fridge slides in right here. We've just got a bungee cord around it just to make sure it doesn't slide around too much, because there's nothing on the other side of it, so it could slide all the way up to the cab. We've got the water hose just kind of coiled up here, easy access to it. I don't actually know how long that is, but it has plenty of reach to go all the way back in. Let's see. That's too dark in there, but all the way in, and I have plenty of hose out here. Then we've got our power station. This is the EcoFlow, I believe it's the River Max, something like that. I'll put a link down below for this one. This is a 500 watt hour battery. It's a little bit small for what we need. You can see just overnight we're already down to 72%. But it fits in there really nicely, runs the fridge, but if we start running diesel heaters and more stuff like that, might have to get a bigger power station. We've also got the hose to our Hart sprayer. It's a 12, is it 12? No, it's a 20 volts, excuse me. It's got a drill battery. It's from Walmart, so it works with their whole line of things if you're running that. And we have running water. It also can run, there's a 12 volt plug that goes to the truck or to my power station, which power station's tucked back in here out of the way also. And it can run off of that, but you have way more power with the 20 volt. So this was super nice, just doing dishes, filling up water bottles. I haven't showered with it yet, but I think it would be a little chilly, but good for that as well. Down here I also carry a chainsaw. We just cut up some firewood with this, so this is just cooling down before I put it back so I don't catch the truck on fire. But I carry a chainsaw everywhere I go. You never know on the trails if you're gonna need to cut your way through, or we had some bad weather go through near our house, so we were cutting up trees and stuff like that. So it's just really helpful to have a chainsaw. In the future, I'm probably planning on getting an electric one, but that's down the road. I really like these steel gas saws. Moving over to this side, also in the bed of the truck here, and if you can see back there is my kind of bug out survival bag. That's kind of set up to leave the truck for 24 to 48 hours. There's some food. I don't have any water in there, but there's shelter and all that kind of stuff in there. Another video that I did earlier on if you want to check that out. I've also got a fire extinguisher. Speaking from experience, I put this Velcro strap on here because these pins don't stay in super well. They'll come out, something will hit it, and the whole bed of your truck will be full of ABC dry chemical. So I've got a Velcro strap on here so that doesn't happen again. So as I'm sure you've picked up on, I've shot this in a few different segments. We've got what it looks like when we're out camping, loaded up for camping, and this is daily. So I leave this slider in. I've got plenty of room to put stuff in here. I can fit longer things here. Anything that needs to be kind of flat goes on this side, and I can put stuff in between here also. But I've got my chainsaw up there all the time. I've got my 24-hour bug out bag here all the time. And I've got my two folding chairs, which come in super handy at events or anything else, and the fire extinguisher that's readily accessible. I've also got some bungee cords over here so I can tie stuff down if need be. An axe, a couple other miscellaneous things. But I try to keep this as open as possible so I can put stuff in there, and that's the main reason that I have this rifle case up here, is all that stuff is also with me all the time, but not bouncing around in the bed of the truck. So as I was saying, I've got the Paragon bed cover. They reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try this out. I said yes, of course, and I've been pretty happy with this. They talked about that they prioritized security over total waterproofness. So this is an aluminum cover, it retracts out of the way, and those were their two main things, was security and usability. It's water resistant probably, you still get a little bit in there, and also with this bed rack, there's these 1/4-inch plates that go under, so I don't think any bed cover is going to be totally waterproof with this setup. You get a little bit of water in there, but I just know that I can't put valuables back here. Also, with the amount of holes in the side of the truck, all of the points where you can attach things and everything else, bed of a truck's really not waterproof anyway, so not that big of a concern, but I know a lot of people have kind of dogged on them for that. I don't think it's really that big a deal. What I do like is that I can slide this out of the way. I've got my water tank in the way, so I can't open it right now. But with this rack on top, you can't open any trifold covers. You might be able to, if you had like a roll-up one, you might be able to do that. But that's the only downside that I've found really so far of having the short rack, is that it really limits your use of that, of which covers you can use and use fully. So something like this that just slides out of the way is perfect, and it gives me a lot more use to put taller things. We've got like a trailer we pull behind our bike that fits up here perfectly with the cover out of the way. So I've been really happy with that. Up here I've also got some of my diode dynamic lights. I've got my chase light here. This is in the fog pattern, which is, my thoughts is, it cuts through the dust and everything a lot better than anything else. And then here, this is a dual, it's got a spot and a flood, and these are white with a red backlight, so when the truck's on and the marker lights are on, these come on for a little bit extra visibility, and then I can turn them on if I really need to see something, setting up camp or backing up to a trailer or anything like that. I've got a ton of light back here, and the spotlight throws it far and the floodlight spreads it out, so you get a nice happy mix of the two, which works out really well. Recently I started running these Van Ultra, these are their quick release rooftop tent mounts. I put up that lift in my garage so I can take the tent off when I don't need it, and this makes it so much easier. You just twist this knob, pull the pin, it slides out of the way, and you can lift it off the truck. Also over here I've got the Clearview Cams backup camera sprayer. This is probably one of my favorite modifications I've done to the truck. I kind of forget it's there actually, because every time you do your windshield washer fluid, this cleans off your backup camera. So you don't even really have to think about it, but it keeps it clean, and every time you want to back up, you can see. So whether you're on a dusty trail, like we are out here today in this dirt, or in the wintertime in the snow, mud, anything like that, it just shoots a blast of windshield washer fluid across the camera and keeps that clean for you. Moving down here, kind of hard to see, but I have recently installed, if we focus, there we go, recently installed the Bilstein suspension in the back. Waiting on the front, I've got it's going to be the 6112s up front and the 5160s in the rear. The fronts are back ordered, but I've already noticed a little bit of a difference. It's kind of hard to tell because the front is still so bad with those Ranchos. It's got 60,000 miles on it too, so, but on the chatter and washboard roads, this is way smoother, and I have a lot more control, so I've been happy with that. All right, moving up top, we've got this rifle case, and I get a lot of questions if I'm carrying around shotguns or rifles or anything in here. That's not the case. This is how I keep all my extra stuff. So the bed of the truck is totally open. I can put anything in there that I want. So this is out of the way, protected, but I still have extra space too. So first off, I've got my kinetic rope. This is from USA Ropes and Recovery. They sent this over, and I've been super happy with it. Haven't gotten a chance to do any recoveries with it, but the quality seems good, and I've used it. We were actually dragging firewood with it earlier. So it's really useful for other things, and it's good to know the peace of mind that you've got this with you. I've also got a couple soft shackles, which are way better than the hard shackles. My goal is to get as much metal out of the system as possible so I don't have a slingshot of deadly stuff when you're doing a recovery. So, and it's a lot easier to get this around whatever recovery point you're using. I also keep an air compressor in here. This is good for, the main reason I got it was actually for blowing up paddle boards, but I've switched, since moved over to just keeping it in here. So for airing down, airing up when you're off-roading, or if you get a flat tire, that's the main times I've used this, was for airing up after I got a flat. But it's not the fastest, but it does the job. It stays out of the way, and it was way cheaper than some of those other ones that are out on the market. Speaking of flat tires, tire repair kit. This is just to put a plug in a tire, and it works very well. You've got these little like Slim Jim looking things that you push into the hole using these tools, and it plugs it. And it's worked really well in my experience. Airing down, I keep these in here. these just screw onto the tire, and it's just an opening through there. So it just starts spitting all the air out. So it's not the most precise thing, but nice and small. These were like 10 bucks on Amazon too. So keep those up here. Got a bag of ratchet straps just for securing anything in here. Then I keep some chainsaw oil. I keep engine oil. And normally I've got some chainsaw fuel up here, but that's empty, so I'm gonna refill that when I get home. I also keep my trailer hitch up here, just so it's out of the way. I don't want to bash my shin on it every time I walk around the back, and I don't pull trailers all that often, so it doesn't make much sense to leave it in, so it's up here protected, out of the way, and out of the way of my shins. Also, normally I've got my Devos light. That sits right back here. That's already out. We're getting that set up for camp tonight. So that's everything that's up here. And then normally we have our rain fly. I'm gonna fall off the truck. And this comes over to these poles that are actually into the bed rack up there. So it does a good job of giving us protection from the rain, but also a good view out the side. Over here I've got my trusty Ace Hardware shovel. This really gets used a lot when we're camping to dig our cat holes in the toilet area. If you don't know what that is, basically in a lot of places you're able to dig a hole. I think it's like 6 to 8 inches into the ground in a place where nobody's gonna walk, so don't do it on a trail or anything like that. And you can use that as your bathroom, and then you just cover it back up and kind of not quite leave no trace, but it's way better than having, I've heard people say, toilet paper, flowers, or whatever else you want just going in the woods. So definitely cover that up. Look at your area if you're allowed to. These are on here with some quick fists and haven't had any issue with it. It's pretty secure there. I really like decorating stuff, adding stickers, making it my own. So I've got these American flags. These are from Gat Mags. When they first reached out and asked about this, I figured it's a little magnet. This is gonna just blow off right away. I've been running these for probably 2.5, 3 years now. This maybe was one of the first modifications I actually did. And I have never had one come off. I've been through some crazy storms, winter, summer, everything, and they're sticking on there perfectly. So definitely check them out. These are a great way to just customize your vehicle. This side, this is where I keep all of our camera gear when we're out. It's just easy driver's side. I can run over here, grab a camera real quick. So I've got a couple camera bags here. I've got my clothes here. Most importantly, I've got my first aid kit down here. I keep this on my side just so I know where it is at all times. And I put this little patch on here, so if I tell somebody to grab the first aid kit from the back seat, they can hopefully see that, and it's just a black backpack. In the door, I keep some gloves and a little buff balaclava kind of thing. This comes in really handy in the wintertime, summertime too, to keep the sun off you. Shut that off. So up here, I've got this knife. It's just on a piece of paracord, just a short stubby knife, but you never know. It's nice to have something. This was just cheap, so if I need to pry or cut or whatever, I don't really care if I break this or anything like that. So just kind of shove that in there. Got some of these tags, so if I plug in, like if fridge or something like that in the back, I'll stick these actually right there, just so I don't forget and drive off with an extension cord hanging down the highway or something. So just on a little magnet, just kind of a fun thing that I did there. And we're actually reshooting this part because it was too dark in the woods and you couldn't really see much. But inside the cab, up front, anybody that's been around for a little bit knows I've got the stop box strike. This gives you easy access to a firearm if you need it, and it doubles as a safe. You've got a key lock right here, and underneath is a cord that wraps around the seat, so this is secure anytime you want to lock it. We'll start up here. This is the aux beam switch panel. This just has one wire that runs through, it actually kind of runs behind the screen here and out to what you'll see in a little bit. Most of these have something on them. I've got my front light bar, the radio's on this, the auxiliary. So this is a 12-volt plug that I actually have in the back that allows me to charge things like my fridge and the power station while I'm driving. Got these are the white lights on the back. Got my fog lights on here. Nothing here. This is when I had the A-pillar or hood lights. Wasn't a huge fan of that. Kind of obstructed visibility and didn't really get me anything that the other lights didn't. Got my chase light, and this is left over from when I was a volunteer fireman. So I've got two of these that are open, so maybe in the future I'll start adding more stuff to it. Next to it, I've got the quad lock. This is just a magnetic mount for my phone. So I've got on the case is the opposite side of it. Just locks in right like that. I actually started using this on my bicycle, my road bike, and decided that since I've got the case, we'll add it here. This is really nice with the magnets. It just kind of falls right into place. It's sturdy enough that while I'm driving down pretty much anything. I don't think I've had it fall off of here yet, other than like super rough roads, but it is what it is. And I can plug it in. Use this as for Apple CarPlay. I use the screen for Onyx Maps, Google Maps, anything like that. And it's nice because it's a much bigger screen than what you get on your phone. And then you can still use your phone for other things, controlling music and that, and still have this dedicated just for the maps. Moving down here, I've got on this side, this is a splitter that comes up right here. So I've got 3 different power 12-volt plugs here. So I've just got like a phone charger here, and then I can plug other things in. So I can plug in that inverter if I need to charge up a laptop or something. Next to it, I've got my B-Tech radio. This is their 50-watt GMRS, and it comes up right here. I put a magnet on the back, and that actually just sticks onto the side of my stop box. So it's easy access to it, but it keeps it out of the way also. I found that with this and there's an 18-inch antenna up top, I have really good range. I have really good clarity with it. I've been really happy. It's got a built-in speaker, and so far I really like this. Over here I've got 2 of their handheld radios. So these we'll use if we're with a group of people and they don't have a radio in their vehicle. I can hand them one of these, and then we can communicate. These are also really helpful in areas when we need to, on the trails when we're using spotters and stuff. Whoever the spotter is will get one of these, and it's a lot easier than trying to figure out what their hand signals mean. Next to it, I've got a couple flashlights. I've just got a handheld flashlight. And I also, down in here, have this black diamond. This was a Christmas gift from my mom, but I like it because it's got multiple different patterns here. It's got like a spot, a flood, and then red. So that's pretty nice. Doesn't take up too much room. Keep it down in there. Other than that, I've got a couple holsters and some other stuff. This ends up just being a catch-all up front. I've got some pens and random other stuff in there. Up here, pretty much a little bit of storage, just again a catch-all. And then we'll move out. And right up here in the visor, I've got some trauma shears. These are the Leatherman Raptors. I've got a tourniquet, which medical stuff right here where you can reach it. If you're upside down, flipped over, and you're bleeding, you want to be able to reach this stuff. Trauma shears also have a glass break on this end, and so I can use that to get out. Hopefully I never have to use that because it's not the most ideal, or to cut a seat belt. I've also got some pepper spray. Again, you want easy access to stuff you're going to need very quickly. And then I keep just a card up here for getting gas, and some little business cards. So if I see a cool Overland rig, I'll throw that on the door or something, just kind of promote myself a little bit. So having a full-time Overland rig that's also your daily driver, you have to kind of make some sacrifices, like putting up with having all of your overlanding stuff in the vehicle while you're just driving around. But it's also kind of nice because it functions a little bit as preparedness. So if maybe there were those terrible storms in, I believe it was out in like New York, up in Syracuse, New York, and there were people that were unfortunately passed away a few miles from their house because they got stuck. Well, having some of this stuff to be prepared in your vehicle all the time might just help you in a life or death situation like that. Same thing, I keep my first aid kit in the back all the time. You never know, I've come across multiple accidents just driving to the mall or something like that. So mall crawler, I guess this is too. But so things like that help you to be prepared for everyday life situations, definitely try to leave those in your rig. It also makes it a whole lot quicker when you want to go out. You have less stuff that you have to pack. So I kind of leave most of that stuff in, and then I just pack the camping specific things for when I'm going out. So up front, you'll see I've got the Up North Trail Boss. Those of you who've been following me from the beginning, that was what I started out my Instagram page as, and then I decided that I was focusing more on the overlanding and not just the truck side of things, so there's where Up North Overland came from. But this is kind of an ode to that from the beginning of where it started. I've also got my Diode Dynamics lights up here. This is the cross link here. You can make these, I think, from 3 all the way up to 8 of these lights linked together. You can do different patterns in here, and you can actually aim these in different ways. You can do straight across or curved. This is the least curved option that they have, and so it's really good down the road, down straight, and off to the side just a little bit. So this is also their multi-pattern. It's got spotlight in the middle, and then floodlights up here, driving lights, and so you get really good illumination. You get that throw, so you can see down the road, but you also illuminate the sides, watch out for deer and other things like that. Down here I've got my fog lights. These are also from Diode Dynamics. Those were the first lights from them that I got, and I was super impressed with the quality. They're a partner of the channel now, but I paid full price for those and then kind of went after working with them. So these are really nice. I've been happy with them. You get a lot of output from it, and the yellow helps to cut through some stuff. Really bad snowstorms and things like that, it's still not perfect, but I think it helps some, especially illuminating the sides of the road. Again, looking for deer and stuff like that. Under the hood here, on this side, I've got my aux beam switch panel. So this is coming off the battery. This is all wired how according to their stuff. So they've got their relay or switch. I'm not an electrician, so be nice in the comments on that one. And this has all of the different wires coming into it. So I really like this. It makes it a lot easier to wire, especially adding lights and power to the back and everything. You just have to go into here, and then there's just one wire that goes through the firewall instead of trying to run everything through the firewall to switches inside. And there's a switch panel up there that you saw earlier. So that just has the one cord, and everything comes to this. Just one push of a button and it works perfectly. So this is also tied to the ignition, so you don't have to worry about leaving lights on or anything like that. I'm sure you see this stuff. This is left over from when I was a volunteer fireman. This isn't actually hooked to anything. I'm just probably going to reuse the wires at some point. So again, don't worry about that. All right, well, there you go. You've seen all the modifications I've done so far, and don't worry, there's a long list of stuff I want to do still. But I've had to make some compromises because this is a daily driver, so I'm not able to run 37s, take the 10 off, stuff like that. So if that's what you're doing in your case too, you're running your daily as an overland rig also, there's a lot of options out there for that. But with that being said, I've got some camping to do. Cheers.